Hello guys. Well, hello everyone. Sorry I skipped saying guys. But in case you're wondering why I'm all masked up, it's because I'm gonna be working with Flour, and Flour doesn't like me very much. But anyway, I am gonna show you how I make my dry mix, okay? Some of them I put a lot in one bucket, which when I'm talking about buckets, I would do the dry mix and add it into one of these. But most of the time I do it this way, okay? The first thing I do, well, if you're starting, make sure you get a bucket with a lid, okay? Because you don't want things to go in there, which I did. Then I put what I'm putting in this bucket. Got these are the half, I think it's 2.5 gallons. I got it from Winco, and it has this kind of lid. Sorry, I keep walking away. You know, the one that you screwed on? I don't know what they're called, but I'm sure you know what the, okay. And so in here, my recipe, my mix are in Ziploc bags. These are storage bags. They're a little bit, I mean, they're less expensive. And then I just make sure that I have enough here, which my goal today is a total of 5, okay? 5 for these. So when I see it's getting low, then I just make some more. Sometimes I go completely without it, and then I'll just redo it. And then I also rotate it. So on the bag itself, okay, I put what it is, the date, like that, and what I'm adding to the to this. I'm also, because this is a new container, I don't know what happened to the other one. I think I had it in the container, but I didn't write what it is on the container itself. So in the back here, I'm gonna write the instructions of how the ingredients, the dry and wet ingredients, and then also how long it's gonna bake for, okay? So for the dry ingredients, for the dry ingredients, I am going to add, sorry. So I am going to add 1 cup of cornmeal, 2 cups of all-purpose flour, 1.5 cups of granulated sugar, 1 tablespoon of baking powder, and 1 teaspoon of salt. Okay, so like I said, I've already written stuff on here, and these are the gallon bags, and I got all the ingredients. I always make sure that I have all the ingredients dry for the dry mix. So right here's the cornmeal, which I need 1 cup. Oh, I better wear this because I'm going to be dying the next 2 days if I don't have a mask on. This is a 1/2 cup. Two. Okay, then I'm gonna add 2 cups of all-purpose flour. Sorry, this thing does not want to stay. 2 cups of all-purpose flour. 1, 2, and then 1.5 cup of granulated sugar or white sugar. 1, and a half. Sorry, I use the same cup. Nothing sticking to it. Don't do that. And then 1 tablespoon of baking powder. It is 1 tablespoon. Sorry. 1 tablespoon of baking powder, and then a teaspoon of salt. I use sea salt, but any salt would work. I've done it with the other salt before I started liking sea salt. Sorry. 1 teaspoon of salt, Make sure it's a teaspoon. Okay. I know. And then that's it. So, and then I just make sure I let all the air out. And I've done this. Sometimes I would forget, and a year later they still work. I haven't had any problem these lasting that long. So just make sure it's all dry, that nothing gets wet. Yeah, and then I put it in this bucket. And if you're making new ones and you have old ones, you just rotate it that way. Take it out, put the new ones on the bottom. Yeah, just make sure that you're rotating your stuff. And then also, what was it that? Oh, and here's the cooking instructions. Okay, it says preheat oven at 350. I found this online though. And then you mix. Okay, so it says mix in a medium bowl. Combine egg, yolk, milk, vanilla, and the melted butter. Okay, and then stir. Add cornmeal, flour, sugar, baking powder, and salt. Stir until they fully combine, but do not overmix. In a separate bowl, beat the egg until stiff, peaks form, and then carefully fold them into the batter. Pour batter into 9 by 13 inch pan and bake for 25 to 30 minutes or until an inserted toothpick comes out clean. Okay, that's the instructions that is written. I will give you my instructions, because if I do this, I will never make cornbread again. Just way too much work. Okay, my instructions. This is baked at 325, and I bake it for between 30 and 35 minutes, or until it's done. Usually when you see it, you'll be able to see when it's done. Always, I don't use the toothpick because sometimes I can't see, as you can tell, that I wear glasses. So I use a knife. You know the butter knife? Here's my other trick about stuff. Stick this in the middle. If it comes out clean, it's cooked. Okay, that's, and how I mix this is I beat the egg. That's the only thing that I beat separately, but I add the dry mix first, and then I add all the other ingredients, and I mix it by hand. That's the trick. If you don't want it to overbeat anything, mix it by hand. Just one hand, and it will come out just fine. That's how I do it, okay? You can do the instructions, okay? And then I just grease the pan and then cook it. But I cook it at 325, between 30 to 35 minutes, or until it's done. Okay, that's how I make the, okay, another trick that I do is I add a parchment paper on the bottom. Sometimes I remember, sometimes I don't, but I put a parchment paper. If you're doing, if you're taking it to like a party and you want to make it look nice, then put a parchment paper. If not, it works without one. But the majority of the time I cook it with the parchment paper on bottom. I don't know why, but I'm so used to that. But anyway, that is the dry mix for the sweet cornmeal bread. And just make a lot, you know, if your family likes, because I used to feed, our family used to be 7. We used to be a total of 7 people. Now we're down to 4 in my house, and only 3 of us like cornbread. So that's why I'm making single recipe. Before, I would just double the recipe of the dry ingredients, and then double the whole recipe thing, and cook it in a bigger pan. But now it's smaller. So anyway, that is the recipe for today. Thank you for watching. We'll see you later. So make sure you mix it well though before you add anything else. You mix all the dry ingredients together. I think that's what I forgot to tell you. And then I got to fit total of 6. Maybe I'll write a little note on the bucket, little to remind me I can fit total of 6 in here. There we go. And so the cornmeal I don't buy a lot of because we don't eat cornbread every week. If we had, I would buy a lot more. And where I bought this, I bought it from Winco, which you weigh cornmeal. And then on top of that, with the, okay, these are where I put my flour and sugar that I use, these big, and then I have one for the rice. Okay, so I am trying to use the old rice that I had put into, that I had canned. And this was like 5 years ago, so I need to use that rice. But what I do is I add, for each bag, for each new bag of rice, I add 2 of those half a gallon rice in it, so that way it gets used. So that's how I'm using it. I think I like it that way. But another thing is when you have a lot of, for an example, let's say flour, probably 100 pounds. You see 100 pounds, you have 100 pounds of bags of flour on top of your shelf. And you're thinking in your head, okay, I have a lot. But when it came down to breaking it down and doing whatever kind of mix, all different mixes that you're doing, I'm not talking about like the dry ingredients, you're gonna end up with a lot less than you think. So I have done that. In my head, I thought I had so much flour, but then it turned out that I really don't, because I needed to make more of whatever stuff. So that's what I do. That's why I do dry mix, because then I know if I have 100 pounds of flour and I already get done my mix, that's exactly what I have, 100 pounds of flour. So yeah. And another thing that I always keep, make sure that I have, is Ziploc bags. What do I use Ziploc bags for? Okay, these are the gallons. I have the quarts, and then I also have the sandwich bags. Sandwich bags is what I use for my boys' snacks, because they're grown adults. And I have storage bags, which are Ziploc, and then I also have the freezer ones. I use this for anything, okay? I use the freezer bags just for the freezer because they're a little bit more pricey. I'm just telling you this because I've used them. So I use this sometimes if I can't fit anything in the refrigerator. I'll just stick the food in the freezer, in the storage bag, and then just try to squeeze it in, because sometimes we have a lot of leftover at our house. So, so yeah, those are some of the ideas for your food storage. And yes, I buy a lot of my, like, this is from Costco. This is from Costco. So you see a lot of bulk stuff. And people say to me, well, it's a lot more, it's less expensive to buy it from other stores, like Walmart. We have Walmart here, Winco, or Lucky Store. Okay, the thing is, you know, it depends on how much you use. I use a lot. I make a lot.